to have gotten the result they were looking for. And even parties that went backwards were celebrating backwards as an achievement. Having said that, we are very strongly of the view that we have amassed over 630,000 votes. We have footholds in different provincial legislatures and the National Assembly, places where we've never had a platform before, where we can now fight for the South African needs of it. But importantly, we are the biggest new party outside of MK, certainly, and creating the largest base in that rational centre of South African politics. And it was for that reason why we needed to sit down as a Senate and begin a process of self-examination. I'll tell you one thing, ActionSA as an organization does not blame voters for our outcomes. We introspect, we examine, and we are willing to do so in a self-critical manner. Because ultimately we remain convinced that ActionSA is not just as important as it was a couple of years ago, it's even more important. We are entering in a phase where the official opposition is offering their support to the government, and the question is going to start to emerge as to who the opposition is, who's going to become the watchdogs when those people who are benefiting from positions and privileges and perks find themselves conflicted in holding the government to account. And this becomes an important question that the Senate of our organization has been seized with. In particular, we will undergo a lengthy process of campaign introspection. The Senate has resolved that we will start a process of a 360-degree view of our election campaign, particularly involving the South African people. We would like the South African people to talk to us about our campaign, what they want to see more of going forward, what they want to see less of going forward, so that we can adjust and ensure that our campaigns in the future are ultimately guided by the people to whom they are directed. This process is also going to involve a roadshow. We will, as a leadership group, be embarking upon a roadshow to the structures across our country. These are the men and women who have volunteered their time so generously to the cause of change in our country. I don't think anyone will ever understand the sacrifices that are made by ActionSA volunteers right across the 9 provinces, but they don't do what they do like other parties because of access to job and power and resources. They do what they do because they love their country, and we are indebted to them, and we look forward to engaging them and getting their views on our campaign going forward and how we can ensure we move forward in the best possible light. The Senate has deliberated, quite deliberately so, on the subject of the 2026 local government election, most notably because it is just 2 years away. An astonishing thing for those of us who are still recovering from a national provincial election that hasn't even found its way to inaugural meetings. But let us be clear about something, and certainly our Senate has been clear. South Africans suffer from a crisis of local government, almost you could say far more than any other. South Africans are living in sewage. South Africans do not have a stable supply of water. Their electricity supply is unreliable, even outside of periods of load shedding. And these are constitutional crises being created by local governments that are failing, that operate with impunity, and that provincial governments have given up on holding them to account, or the internal politics of balancing factions of political parties comes before the accountability of failing municipalities. We believe that this is the vital nexus of the change that is required in South Africa. And in many ways, what we experienced in this election is many voters who said to us, don't come talking to us about those issues, talk to us about our water, our sewage, our roads and our electricity. And this is why the 2026 campaign becomes such an immediate point for ActionSA, and why you would have noticed a statement issued yesterday in which the President and myself have declined taking up seats in the parliaments and provincial legislatures so that we can focus full-time on the work of growing this organization, traveling the length and breadth of our country, but also doing so knowing that we have an incredible team of people in Parliament with a great deal of skills, diversity and experience that we know are going to fill the vital role of becoming the unofficial opposition in South Africa, which is what's going to be required when the opposition is doing a deal with the government. And I think the reason why many of you are here is to hear about our position going forward relating to other political parties. And let me address that question now. The Senate of ActionSA has deliberated on the question of our relationship with other political parties, and we can communicate the following outcomes right now. And the first is that ActionSA has made the decision that we will be leaving the multi-party charter for South Africa. And I want to read to you the resolution that was taken by our Senate so that you can understand exactly what we have done. It reads as follows. The Senate of ActionSA at a meeting held on Tuesday, 4 June 2024 notes that 1. ActionSA entered into the multi-party charter for South Africa on a good faith basis once the DA committed to the declaration of intent in Section 7 of the multi-party charter agreement. This was the section that specifically ruled out any working relationships with the ANC. The MPC agreement has been seriously breached by political parties, plural, that have contravened the declaration of intent in Section 7 of the MPC agreement. 3. ActionSA remains steadfast in its public commitment to be an alternative to the ANC and redoubles this commitment today in an environment where the opposition space has abandoned by opposition parties planning to coalesce with the ANC. And therefore, the Senate of ActionSA hereby resolves to exit the multi-party charter and communicate our reasons for doing so to the South African people. And I think you would have heard a number of those reasons mentioned so far. I would also like to say that from our point of view, we are strong of the opinion that we made our commitment in the multi-party charter not to other political parties, but to the South African people. That was what that commitment was. Many of you will remember the press conference in which we signed the multi-party charter. It was done publicly in front of the South African people. It was a commitment to the South African people. And we are very clear of the fact that we have never reneged on our commitment. We have remained steadfast in our commitment, but we cannot in good conscience remain part of a multi-party charter that is failing to live up to that commitment. We would also like to make the following remarks as it relates to ActionSA's ongoing relationship with other political parties. The first of which is that ActionSA looks forward greatly to a period of time in which we will stand on our own 2 feet. We will be our own political party. We will not be tethered to other political parties, and we will end the era of ActionSA being called this party light or that party light. ActionSA is going to be ActionSA. We're going to be the best ActionSA that we can be, and we're going to take what in many regards is the most exciting and reasonable offer for the South African people, and we're going to go around the country and deliver that offer unencumbered by any people who we may call partners. At the same time, we remain unequivocal that our commitment to providing an alternative to the ANC precludes us from any possible governance arrangements with the ANC. We note other political parties that do, and that is their right. But going forward, what you're going to see is that ActionSA is going to spend much less time talking about other political parties and much more time talking about ActionSA and the offer that we bring to the South African people. So those parties are free to do as they please, that is their right, as we are free to do as we please. And what we please to do is to live up to our commitment to the South African people to be an alternative. And in an environment where other political parties are reneging on their commitments and offering votes that were won around change in South Africa and giving those parties those votes to the same party from which we need that change, we are going to remain true to our commitments and stand alone in that regard. And we will be the unofficial voice of the opposition in Parliament, because we must be very clear. Political parties that receive the gifts of positions and perks and privileges in Parliament, even in the opposition, are now bound in perpetuity from the government from which they receive those positions. And when the time comes for accountability, they will face the conflict of interest in terms of what they do in those moments when accountability is required. And what we say to the South African people today is that we will not be conflicted, and we will ensure that there is accountability, recognizing how important that accountability is going to be going forward. From our point of view, this is an ongoing process that our Senate has embarked upon. It is the start of a process that is going to take a number of weeks, but we are very clear that we have much work to do ahead of the local government election, being the party that South Africans need us to be. I think two observations further that you might be of interest to know. If you look at these results and the split ballots and the split voting that took place in this election, far more people voted for us on provincial ballots than they did on national ballots. South Africans see us as a party that is strong as well, and that is something that we are going to dig into and capitalize on as we approach this local government election, where so many South Africans suffer from the manifestations of local government failure, while working on being a stronger voice nationally, because we want to correct that image as well. And I can tell you, with the team of people that are going to Parliament on behalf of our party, I think as leadership, Herman and I are blessed that we can have such strong people that can go ahead and do such excellent work, and we can know that South Africans will be in excellent hands in that regard. The last point to make, as I think some of you may raise this as a point of interest, is the question about what this means for the city of Tshwane, in which we are currently in a coalition with various political parties associated with the multi-party charter. And what the Senate of our organization has concluded is that we are not going to punish the residents of Tshwane because of what other political parties have done. I reiterate what I said to you earlier. When we enter arrangements, we enter them for the residents and the people of this country, not for other political parties. But at the same time, we make it clear as if the DA is going to do a deal with the ANC, and if that deal is going to extend across tiers of government, as we are reading in the media, then we invite the DA to replace us with the ANC, because we will not in good conscience be involved in any coalition that involves the ANC. And we will leave it there. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning everyone, and thank you so much for making the time to come and listen to us after a grueling week. I guess, as Michael has already indicated, I think we're all very tired, including you guys in the media. I think actually the last few days you guys worked much harder than us, because you had to operate on a 24-hour basis, and we live in a country where there's no country in the world where every hour there's breaking news. So you guys are in a really very difficult, weird situation, but you've always handled it with distinction, and I think keeping our democracy alive. You remember very well, colleagues from the media and people of South Africa who listened to us, to Michael, Lerato and I last Friday at the press conference at The Rock, that as ActionSA, there's just no way that we can claim we're happy with the results. I mean, we wanted to have performed much better, but at the same time, we've got to really look at it in a proper context, looking at all the other parties who's happy. Except the MK and a little bit of PA, but everyone has received really the kind of results that we did not expect, and we wanted more. But at the same time, as ActionSA in the reflection, when we had our two-day start session, I think we needed to actually look at ourselves in reflection in good faith. And when we looked at this outcome, we actually accepted this result with great pride. Great pride in the sense that here's a 3.5-year-old party. Party launched during COVID, but at the same time, we're a party that's today represented in all 3 spheres of government, at local government in a big way. Now represented in national parliament with 6 real outstanding candidates. Actually, our marching orders to our team is that, guys, you 6 of you, but we expect results of 60 members of parliament. You must go out and box like you 60. The opportunity does exist for them to go in the box in that way, because we are going to really be the real alternative for fighting for the people of our country. So as much as, yes, we did not achieve what we wanted, but I think we need to really we must not be hard to, on ourselves and really accept these results with great pride. But I think what's important is for us to express our gratitude to the South African voters who voted for us. I think it's very important. Also at the same time, our volunteers, our activists, I think it is because of them that ActionSA could receive such outstanding results. At the same time, also, members of the media and our funders, people who had the confidence in us, assisting us to give us the necessary resources to really be able to achieve the kind of historical results that we have received. So, yeah, we're excited to going to the National Parliament with the 6 real professional people who would really be able to represent the people of South Africa, because they're not there going there to represent ActionSA. We said you must go there and represent the people of South Africa. It is for that reason Michael and I decided to step back to say, look, there's a lot of work that still needs to happen in this country. Local government elections are around the corner. And as you can imagine, the scale of local government elections. Please bear in mind that in 2021, we only contested 6 municipalities. So this time, we have to really go as wide as possible. And you think putting structures in the 9 provinces was a lot of work. Yes, it was. But you can imagine at local government level. And local government critical because it is at the coal face of service delivery. So for me and Michael to be in government, we thought it would really be a bad idea. If we are serious about saving people of this country, let's send a team that can represent us. We are not the only 2 people who can really deliver for people of South Africa. No, we have to really demonstrate to people of this country that it is not about our stomachs. I think I take myself as an example. I'm sure all of you as members of the media and people of South Africa, I don't get paid by the party. So even going forward, I'm not going to be a liability to the party. I've got to rely on my family to really be able to survive. But at the same time, I can tell you and assure people of South Africa that they're going to see more of me than they've ever seen me before. My commitment to this country, because of the outcome of these elections, makes me much more resolute and much more determined to find a long-lasting, sustainable solution for future generations. Because if you look at the outcome of these elections, honestly for me, and a lot of people I've spoken to, we are nervous of this outcome. Because these results have actually demonstrated election results on politics of identity. I think for me, as a South African, I thought 1994 we buried politics of identity. I so eloquently remember, and I have a picture of Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu paid their fortune from one of the greatest photographers in this country. Got him in my TV room, of 2 great South Africans. I so dearly admire Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. Nelson Mandela actually taking a long-term view of the kind of South Africa that we want. And Archbishop Desmond Tutu came out with the concept of a rainbow nation, something that actually took the world by storm and made us as proud people. But here we are, 30 years later. South Africans on their own, without HFL vote, coming out with cohesion and force, people of South Africa voted on the basis of identity. It is for that reason, for us as ActionSA, we say, this is not going to happen under our watch. We've got to do everything possible to ensure that politics of identity are dangerous for this country. If you look at the history of the world, the countries that are at war, are at conflict, it's because of politics of identity. We've got to really be the party that, if you remember the core values of ActionSA, which I'd really like to share with you, that we are unapologetic about them. We stand by those core values. The first core value of ActionSA after the People's Dialogue, when 2.4 million South Africans gave us the mandate to start this party, they said, please, if you form a party, it must be a party on the basis of an unracial South Africa. And this result does not, this current latest result does not demonstrate that. Yes, we need to, obviously, as part of our discussion, is to really look at why people decided on their own, in a democratic environment, decided to go and voted for politics of identity. So we've got to really engage them. It's for that reason that that one needs to really be focused on. We need to create an unracial society for future generations. At the same time, we're a political party that believes in the rule of law. Just for an example that you might think is small, but for us it's big. Michael has just announced us pulling out of the MPC. We signed that agreement in front of people of South Africa through the media. We signed that agreement with full commitment to the spirit of that agreement. And one of the agreement that I think for us it's very serious. The fact that we committed not to entertain any negotiation whatsoever with the ANC. I'm sure it is there, everyone, that agreement it is available. And at the same time, we are saying we agreed in that it's part of that agreement. We said any party after the election, it is up to them to really take whatever posture or decision that they take. But if you take that decision, then you must resign from the multi-party charter. So no one is actually forced to really be part of the multi-party charter. So we were surprised, taken by absolute total surprise, when parties started negotiations without obviously respecting the constitutional commitment that we made to the people of this country. So we're the first party to say, okay, fine, some party have decided to go and negotiate, and it is their right. And I think if you look at it, it is their right. We cannot really stop them. But at the same time, for us as ActionSA, to remain in an agreement where some of our members of the multi-party, they are in breach of this agreement. So we want to formalize this. We don't have to cry like babies. We don't want to be cry babies. I think we want to do what is right, is to believe in the rule of law. Right? Let's step back and allow these political parties to have the freedom to what they want, because we don't really stop them from negotiating with any other party. But if we had an agreement that we'll never agree with entertaining any negotiations with the ANC. And as you are aware, negotiations are underway. And these parties have not resigned from the multi-party charter. So they are in breach. And I think for us as ActionSA, our belief strong is that were we betrayed? Do we feel betrayed? Absolutely not. People who are betrayed are people of the South African people. They're the ones who have been betrayed. Because political parties, all of us, went out on a massive campaign on the basis of not working with the ANC. We signed that agreement in front of the people of this country. So we believe very strongly in the rule of law. So that is just to really give an example of how committed we are to the rule of law. I can go on and on issues of the rule of law. One of the core values of ActionSA is ethical leadership. You know, I was born and raised where, as I've said many times before, and I'm happy to repeat it here today to you, that my grandfather taught me and instilled in me and demanded of me not to stand on the fence. He always reminded me all the time to say, my boy, if you stand on the fence, you're going to fall and you're going to hurt yourself. So rather be on the ground. But when you're on the ground, you must understand no one is going to like you. That's fine, but you just need to do what is right. So ethical leadership is something that I think it's lacking in our country. And that is why there's this massive trust deficit between politicians and civil society. Civil society don't really trust us as politicians. And can you really blame them when there's no ethical and moral compass in our behavior? We're the kind of society where we say one thing and we go and do something completely different. If you look at the kind of leadership that has been running this country over the last 8 years, it really leaves a lot to really be desired. We don't want to compromise on ethical leadership as an organization. And we're a political party also that believes in free market economy. We've always really maintained that we want to ensure that we grow the economy, and the only way you can grow the economy is through the private sector participation, and allow the private sector to operate in an environment that is conducive, particularly SMMEs. If you look at our unemployment, the world has never seen anything like this. We're having the highest sustainable unemployment rate in the world. And this is self-inflicted because we're not friendly to the business community. We focus on outcome instead of focusing on opportunity. We're the political party that wants to create equal opportunities for South Africans. In terms of the outcome, God has given us different talents. I cannot really see and understand why someone wants to force me to be a businessman or be a judge, because God gave us different talents. So we believe in equal opportunity, not equal outcome. We also at the same time believe in social justice. You know, the other day, the day on last Monday actually, I spent hours in Alexander. And I said to myself when I was addressing the community of Alexander, I said, you know, in 1996 when South Africa adopted our constitution, we had the Bill of Rights. I see in this country, people of Alexander and lots of other places throughout the country are better off in prison than outside. Because in prison, they are guaranteed of 3 meals a day. They are guaranteed of even voting to deciding the future of this country, while actually having broken that trust with society. That's why ActionSA from day one, we said social justice is it's at the core of the formation of our party. We are going to not apologize to anyone, be pro-poor, but pro-poor on the basis of saying our people are going through a difficult time. And we are saying those who are privileged, let's work together to uplift, not to say everyone must go down. We are saying we want to uplift our people. So we are unapologetic for really being a pro-poor government. This is just to really share with you that we are not going to compromise on those issues. And these are the issues we're going to be taking out to the public. As it relates to the IEC, remember at the press conference regarding how IEC ran these elections, without any doubt, I think one does not have to really be a rocket scientist. A lot needs to really happen. Lots of issues that happen. But at the end of the day, let us not really be a country that wants to plunge the overall country into chaos on minor issues that happen. Because in any given environment, I'm sure you know what happened in the United States, a country that's been running elections for so many years. You remember the outcome of the last elections. Even up to today, Americans are still dealing with this matter. But that does not mean that we must collapse the government. That's why for us as ActionSA, we've accepted the results. As much as I can show you evidence of some of the cases where we believe we were done in, but at the end of the day, we really put the country first ahead of our own personal situation. But at the same time, what we are excited about is that we're going to have 6 national parliament representation, and we want them to go and raise this issue of the capacitation of IEC. IEC needs to be capacitated to be able to deliver better elections than they did this time around. They need resources, they need professional people, because they don't just really need money. They need to really make sure that they are capacitated properly. And our team is going to ensure that happens. But at the end of the day, we want the country to move forward. As ActionSA, we accept the results as they are, to have been free and fair, and we want to really move on as a country. I think in closing, I want to reiterate again, Michael raised this matter, and I raised it myself as to why Michael and I are not going to Parliament. I think it's important for other South Africans, on the basis of the things that I've shared with you, where South Africans on their own took a decision to vote along politics of identity. So that means there's a lot of work that needs to really happen. It is for that reason that this becomes a huge priority for me. I want to use my privileged position, because I don't need a parliament salary to survive. I don't have to really be a burden to our party to support me. But at the same time, I think I'll use my privileged position to mobilize South Africans to understand the dangers of identity politics. So if I have to really go to Parliament, you can imagine I'm going to lose, whether I'm going to lose an hour or I'm going to lose a day or so. I don't want to find myself any day where instead of going to address a community meeting and going to attend Parliament, I'm going to really make a decision. I'd rather make that decision upfront to say, no, I want to go and attend a public meeting, and not really having to feel guilty that I'm missing my Parliament commitment. Because if I accept to go to Parliament, I have to go to Parliament and not fail the people of this country. So I don't want to really be put into that environment of making such a decision when I can see in advance. Because you can understand, if I go into Parliament, I've got to not only be in Parliament, I must serve in the committees. Now, that's what I'm saying is, I've taken a decision, instead of failing people of this country by missing my commitment in Parliament, let me use my privileged position. I'm choosing to go and engage South Africans, to unite South Africans, because this result is not the end of the day. It's the beginning of a new chapter for my country. And I've decided actually to pursue this route on putting my country ahead of everything and use my privileged position in that regard. And I'm really so confident working with Michael. I've had a privilege working with Michael as my chief of staff when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. This is how we met. And his work culture exceeds anything that one can ever think of. So I feel I have someone to really work with me to ensure that we can deal with this politics of identity. But at the same time, we are represented in national government, we are represented in the Gauteng legislature, we are represented in Mpumalanga, we are represented in the Northwest. So, and the work of preparing for 2026 has begun. So thank you very much fellow South Africans and members of the media. Then leave it to you for any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, National Chairperson, Mgobozi. Thank you, President Mashaba. Colleagues, I'll open for questions. Depending on your appetite, I'll take a couple of rounds. Let me take the first 5. So I see yourself, I see you. 4, do we have a fifth hand? Okay, please go ahead.
Frank from NCA. I just wanted to ask you this. You say that you are committed not to entertain any agreement with the ANC, right? But the ANC history this morning is on record saying that they are marching towards the government of national unity, that they're speaking to everyone, and that there's nothing concrete on the table. So are you saying that not even any engagement of any sort, not even initial stages, nothing, that's off the table, and that all the parties in the NPC that have even engaged in friendly, I suppose, chapter with the ANC should fall out of the agreement? I mean, given where we find ourselves, are you saying that they shouldn't even talk? That's my first question. The second question is the identity politics that you raised. It's not concerned, but that is how South Africans vote. Right? So my question to you is, how then in your 2-day deliberations did you chart a way forward? Did you come up with a plan in terms of how you are going to address it going forward as ActionSA?
Thank you.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Sandra. I'm the work of the Sunday Times. Do you think that your involvement in the pre-election pact could have hampered or affected your electoral performance, given that you have been relegated to a DA light, as some might have referred to? Do you believe you could not have tapped into a bigger voter base had you gone into the polls independently without having tied yourself to a relationship with parties like the DA? Because from some voters' standpoint, it could have been a matter of, it doesn't matter which party I'm voting, they're going to combine their votes anyway. So do you think you could not have performed better independently? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Beaumont, I think I'll just hop on the question that he asked. The ANC is meeting with everyone. Have you met with the ANC? Has the ANC contacted you? So that's my first question. And my second question is a personal one to Mr. Mashaba. Mr. Mashaba, you invested a lot of your own money into ActionSA. And I think obviously when this list came out of people going to Parliament, there was some worry that you might leave politics altogether. So I just want to know, are you still committed to ActionSA? Are you still committed into politics? And are you not going to go back to business? Thank you so much.
Christian Duplessis from the Factory Center.
What's the name?
Christian Duplessis.
Christian.
Yes. So my questions are, what is ActionSA's thoughts on a government of national unity? Secondly, is the multi-party charter still valid in your view? Did it not expire already, or yeah? So and then thirdly, Michael spoke about ActionSA still be willing to work in a coalition in Tshwane, but then he said if under certain circumstances that would also be off the table. So can you just say clearly what are the what must happen for that coalition to not be there anymore? If the agreement should, for example, if the DA agreement on provincial level with the ANC agreement, would you still be in a coalition in Tshwane? Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last one as well. Michael?
Oh, because there's only 4. I thought you were taking 4.
No, I have no other hands.
Okay. No, that's good. I will, obviously, I think, respond to all the questions, and I think Michael will need to expand even further. Let me start with you, Faith, regarding what you said the ANC is talking about the government of national unity. We can't comment about that because we don't know what that means. It's is that a government that involves all the parties in government or so, but it's impossible to really comment on that. If a proposal comes as everyone who is represented at national parliament, can we talk? Every party. I think as ActionSA, it's impossible to comment on that unless we've got the details. I don't think it would really be fair to speculate. One thing it is clear is that ActionSA's position, we contested and made a commitment to the people of South Africa that we cannot work with the ANC. And so right now, if we want to start all over again, it's not working with the ANC. It's all the parties in the national this thing. Can we work together? We are happy to go and listen to what that means. Yeah, does it mean now we include MK? Do we include EFF? Do we include DA? Do we include IFP? We don't know. Honestly, I don't think it would be fair for us to really make a call on something that we don't understand. So I think let someone put something together that would allow us to make an informed decision. And you talk about politics of identity. Remember I said, Faith, that we accept the results, and as much as we are concerned, we respect how people vote. It is for that reason we are saying to South Africans, can we really engage? ActionSA is committed to an unracial South Africa. Politics of identity are going to create massive problems for us. If you look at countries all over the world that have been to war over the last 2,000 years, even up to today, people, those countries are at war because of politics of identity. So it is for that reason we are committed to really engaging South Africans to say, please let's all actually rally behind one flag. We respect your decision, but is their decision correct or not? We're not really disputing the fact that that's how they voted. So that's not the issue. The issue is for us to engage them on saying, is this good for us? And we've got lots of examples to really demonstrate to people of South Africa that politics of identity will create a serious problems for this country. Non-racial South Africa, the rainbow nation that Desmond Tutu spoke about, that we believe as ActionSA is the future of our country. Sisanda from the Sunday Times MPC relationship. I think MPC, I don't know if Michael is, if you guys don't have the agreement, Michael, I would like you to read the clause that deals with the existence of MPC. So MPC can't survive when everyone is in breach. So there's no point in having an agreement and you don't do anything about it, but everyone is in breach of that agreement. So fortunate enough, in us as ActionSA, we obviously put that agreement, that clause in place, that anyone, it's most, MPC can only dissolve if all of us agree that we dissolve the agreement. Secondly, any party can leave the agreement in the multi-party party charter at any point in time, as long as they resign instead of really being in breach. So if we just leave things hanging, MPC basically it is still an agreement. Remember, I raised this issue of the rule of law. We are the party that believes very strongly in the rule of law. It is for that reason we are saying parties are already in breach, and they're not talking about the dissolution of the MPC. So who are we fooling? We're fooling ourselves and fooling society that the MPC is still alive. The MPC is still not alive. But if we don't do anything about it, the agreement is binding. Morally, it might not really be binding legally, but it is binding morally, and we don't want to find ourselves caught into that arrangement. It's for that reason we've taken a decision to pull out in a formal way so that we respect the rule of law. And I think Michael will read you those items.
Mr. Mashaba, I asked about electoral performance. Do you not think you could have performed better?
Yeah, no,
without
okay, no, I was
the
going to address that. I think, Sisanda, if you look at the political dynamics of this country, from day one, we, as ActionSA, accepted to come into a coalition arrangement, pre-arrangement, because we realized that no one is going to get outright majority. In fact, I remember at the press conference, if some of you were at the press conference, signing conference, I said, we are not going into this agreement with these other parties because they are friends with us. I said, we are better devils. Remember that if some of you were at that conference. So we realized there's a need to give South Africans some hope, because South Africans were looking for an alternative. And we had already made it clear we're not going to into a coalition with the ANC. So, so if you can imagine, we had refused to start identifying political potential partners in the event of us not getting outright majority. Because honestly, we were not prepared as a political party. We debated this matter extensively in Senate to say, do we go out and contest on our own, or do we look for better devils? And we said they must also call us a better devil. So that's why we took that decision. Did it affect us? We were called to so many names. I'm sure you remember when I left as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, I was called at the time an EFF mayor. Remember those days? What we called an EFF mayor, you know. So I think we've even when we signed the multi-party charter, we were called the DA Light. But on the other hand, some people in the multi-party charter, because with the party that holds others, our colleagues accountable, that will be called an EFF the Light. I'm sure you've seen this many times. Some of our members in the coalition, and all the time raised this matter when we wanted to hold them accountable. So did it affect? We guess it should, but what would have been the impact of us standing on our own and telling South Africans we are going to win outright? So I think it's something of a hindsight. No one has got a solution. The results are what they are. Tabi, so from Eyewitness News, any NC making contact with us, as I've already indicated, NC has not made any contact. MPC, our other DA has not made any contact with us. We thought on Saturday when DA called an MPC meeting on Saturday night, we thought they would share with us what their plans were. The meeting that, by my standards, should have lasted half an hour at the most, lasted just over 2 hours. And we're happy to make the transcript of, if anyone is interested to listen to what normally you're subjected to in council, where someone calls a meeting and not say anything, you know. The first hour, literally, honestly, was a waste of time. And when we then said, but why do you guys call this meeting? Let's get into substantive matters. That's where it begins to make sense. And we ended up with no resolution as to the way forward. And then things that we queried to say, but guys, here's the agreement. Michael actually shared with him the agreement that we've signed. We said, but guys, here's evidence of you already negotiating. And you committed to people of this country that will not negotiate. If that is the case, it's the right thing to do. It's your decision, no one stops you. Then resign from the MPC. So if any one of you, as the members of the media, you want to get those the transcripts, we're happy to share this with you to say, see what a joke, wasting our time. That's why it was so easy for Senate to really make this decision to say, look, let us not be like the other parties. We are bound as a party, a political party, to the agreement. So the only way we can disassociate ourselves formally is to resign. And that's what we announced today, that we are resigning from the MPC. And Tabiso, my commitment to politics, I think I've already extensively covered this. I'm not actually running away. I'm more resolute, more committed to this country because of things that I've already outlined. So you're going to see more of me, and actually seeing more of me with our colleagues at the National Assembly. You see, I think what excites me about this outcome, unlike in the past when we were not represented in Parliament, when we deal with issues, we're dealing with issues from an outside point of view. Here, we've got 6 top, really the crop of our country's the team. I think in that team, the only person who's been in politics is Athol Trolle. The rest are professional South Africans who are going to national parliament for the first time. But these are committed South Africans, committed to our cause. So you're not going to really lose me from politics. But I think we've got even a better formalized kind of platform to allow us to be in government and recognize. Christian, regarding government of national unity, I just said government of national unity. I'll leave it to Michael to deal with it, because I think it relates to what Faith has already asked. So we don't know what it is. Is MPC still alive? I think I've addressed that. It is still alive to the other parties who have not resigned. So ActionSA is out, officially out. But so we can't comment about MPC. So if anyone wants to know whether MPC is still alive or not, ActionSA must be left out, because ActionSA is not part of the MPC. The only way, all the other parties are the signatories to the MPC. For as long as they don't resign or collapse it, that means that the MPC is still alive. But it's a moral situation. So we're the first party to pull out. So therefore, anything to do with MPC must be referred to those who are still in the MPC. Until such time they dissolve it or they resign, like how ActionSA has done. And regarding Tshwane, Christian, as Michael indicated, we did not go into that arrangement because we wanted positions. We wanted to stop ANC from taking over government. Remember how we were abused the first year or so, which led to us actually calling for the resignation of the first mayor, where we were not prepared to cover for anyone. It doesn't mean if you go into a coalition with ActionSA, you can get away with MEDA. Or we remove ANC and then continue with ANC tendencies. You remember how we fought for the exposure of the Royal water treatment plant tender to Edwin Sodi. Even when we were in government together, our senior member refusing to give us information. Remember the unsolicited bid of the 2 electricity plants? Do you know about that? And we were painted as a difficult partner. And I think if that is the case, we are proud to really be a difficult partner if we're going to let you do things that are illegal, things that are of an ANC nature, and you expect us to cover for you because we're part of your MPC, part of your arrangement. That is not going to happen under ActionSA. ActionSA is not going to cover for anyone, and we don't want anyone as well to cover for us as a party. So right now, because we went into that arrangement for people of Tshwane to have a stable government, we have the numbers, but obviously if ANC and DA, they feel they want to work together even at local government level, I think for us as ActionSA, good luck to them. ActionSA will remain, as the Senate of our party, will remain in opposition benches and hold the marker, ANC and DA accountable if they so desire. But if DA still wants to work with us in the city of Tshwane, without the ANC, we are happy to work. We are not happy to work with them and the ANC. So, Michael, the Senator.
Thank you very much. Perhaps just a couple of remarks in aid of the words mentioned by the President. Faith, I think importantly, as it relates to the question of a government and national unity, we're clear in terms of the fact that we are not involved. It's quite important to say that, you know, being asked the question whether this is good or bad will only be told in time, won't it? Because the question of whether this works will be a question of whether it can be stable. Whether such an overarching majority is not just going to result in a dynamic where the top two parties who have a majority by themselves dictate the terms to everybody else. And the question of who's going to watch when the watchdogs have gone into bed with the government. You yourselves have seen the importance of an opposition and a strong media in our country. And the reality is when an opposition is in bed with the government, you have a very serious question as to what is going to transpire. And I want to tell you, as talking to a party with leaders who have been in coalition governments and understand how coalition governments actually work, is that when you have people who are facing a conflict of interest scenario, where doing what is right requires accountability and opposition and exposing wrongdoing, but at the same time, you're exposing the wrongdoing of the party that has given you your seats, your positions, your salary, your blue light driver and all of those things that come along with the perks of government, then you're conflicted. And you're going to face a decision, do we collapse this government or do we have accountability? And compromises get made, one after the next, a little bit at a time. And it becomes a slippery slope that erodes the opposition in South Africa, which is precisely why we say time will tell. But what we can say is someone needs to be a strong opposition in South Africa, and we are willing to do it. And we imagine that other political parties may well join us in that particular endeavor, especially if the approach is going to be the government and national unity that you describe. I think from the point of view of Sisanda's question, you know, the best answer to your question is ask how Rise and Bosa did. You want to know if the multi-party charter being outside of it served well? Well, not really. You know, so I don't think that necessarily helped. But I think in being serious in response to your question, I think from our point of view, it was very clear that it has been used to de-campaign us at times. We can't skirt around that issue. And that's fine. It's not our choice to be de-campaigned. That was the choice of those who sought to use the charter in that particular way. And again, we're entering the era where we'll be talking less about those and more about ourselves. But I think from our point of view, that's something that they need to live with. And we are quite happy in the process we're going forward with because we did this for the right reasons. And ultimately, we sleep well at night because of exactly that fact. As it relates to, Christian, your question about Tshwane, let me be as clear as I can be. We will remain in that coalition and be a constructive partner. And what that will mean is that we will support the budget today. We are a coalition partner. We are going to raise our hands as part of a budget that we have been jointly involved in constructing. That budget provides more money than ever before to the Rooival wastewater treatment plant, where our deputy mayor is ensuring that progress is being made that is going to give the people of Hammanskraal clean water for the first time on the 1st of September this year. We're not going to walk away from the people of Hammanskraal because of what is going on nationally. What we will say is this: if the DA would like to invite the ANC to co-govern with them at a local government level in Tshwane, then we will vacate and allow them to do so. If they're going to do a deal that goes across governments and includes Tshwane, then we will walk away from that arrangement. Until then, we are committed to providing an alternative to the ANC, and that is what is happening in the city of Tshwane presently. The people of Hammanskraal have lived with the ANC that manifested this water crisis since the early 2000s. It is that government that is fixing it now. We wouldn't walk away from delivering change to the people in that way. I repeat, our commitments in these relationships are to the people of South Africa, not to another political party. And as long as we're providing an alternative to ANC government, then we are living up to our commitment to the people of South Africa. As a general point, I want to make the following remark, because I think it's important to understand this about ActionSA going forward, and there certainly was a sentiment that arose from our summit. If you would like to characterize ActionSA's role going forward, we are going to be a constructive opposition. If good proposals that are ethical and serve the people of South Africa come before the desks of our representatives, they will receive our support, and we will be constructive in that way. But when bad proposals that are compromised come across our desk because they are the product of political posturing and political compromise aimed at keeping things together and not serving the people of South Africa, we will reject it, and we will become the strongest voice of opposition when a conflicted opposition is not able to hold itself accountable.
Can I actually just close in something that I've already shared with some of our members going into the legislatures and but especially in national government. I said to them, guys, just really bear this in mind. I made a commitment to the people of South Africa that we're going to be an accountable government. Here we're going to be an accountable opposition. For the 6 members of parliament going to parliament, every quarter, I want to really have with them, all 6 of them, have a session with them, account to you how they're doing. And then you can question them and so forth. And we can give you an update of our achievements, our failures on issues that are going out in Parliament. Something that is not actually used to. Because we wanted to do it, we were going to do it in government. Hopefully one day we'll be in government and hold that government accountable. If you ministers, you must know every quarter we expect you stand in front of the media, share with them your successes and your failures and the challenges and so forth. So the same thing will apply with the 6 members of Parliament of ActionSA are going to sit here, call the media person conference and share with you their experiences, the issues, opportunities and so forth. So that they're transparent. We don't want the people who are going to go to Parliament and go and sleep. We want them to really go out and work. We're prepared to actually be an accountable, transparent public servants, because it's public monies that's going to really pay their salaries. Therefore, they're not just accountable to the political party, because these guys are not going to be paid by ActionSA. They're going to be paid by the taxes of the people of South Africa. So they are more accountable to people of South Africa than us as a political party. So that's a guarantee that I can give you. Actually, Tabiso, this actually confirms with you my commitment to politics of this country going forward. Every quarter, you're going to have an opportunity with me and the 6 members of Parliament where they must report to you, to the people of South Africa through you, because that's the role of media in a democratic dispensation. So we're going to hold them accountable. There's not going to be any free lunch. Thank you very much. I thought it's important that I share this with you.
Thanks everyone. Are there any follow-up questions? Any appetite for that? Okay. Anyone else? Do you have the mic? Can you please give me the mic? Go ahead, Zee.
Good morning, Zee from Newsroom Africa. I just wanted to get clarity on the stance of ActionSA against the ANC. Is it based on ideology? I mean, there's lack of alignment in the ideology of ActionSA and the ANC. And a follow-up question to that: how much consultation was done within the structures of ActionSA, provincial to maybe to some extent to branches before coming up to this stage? Is it a stance that was decided by the top structures? In this case, or something that is generally a view of ActionSA? And should most parties, let's say almost all parties, agree that we need to bring South Africa together, would ActionSA ActionSA entertained that showing the ANC not getting a majority, that gives opposition parties enough space to hold the ANC accountable. So wouldn't this be an opportunity for ActionSA to get into that space so that it can prove itself at the highest level, but also contribute in terms of holding the current ANC accountable?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that the only question? Thank you.
Regarding the differences between ActionSA and the ANC, I mean, they're so huge. Remember, even on the day we launched the party on the 29th of August 2020, in terms of economic policies, in terms of our approach to national unity, in terms of fighting corruption, you know, ethical leadership. I can go on and on and on. So ActionSA and ANC, we miles apart that I cannot see how one can relate these differences. So definitely there are major differences which we agree and shared with you. You're not hearing this for the first time. We qualified this on the day when we launched the party on the 29th of August 2020. Your media house covered my speech live, so it's not really something new. It's something that was there on the day when the party was launched, that we would not do with the ANC. And we kept to the way. And obviously, because we wanted to know the differences, I can go on. I've just given you the major ones. In terms of the process of consultation with our structures, you can imagine when you run a political party like this, we run business, you need leadership. People need really leadership. This whole situation, the outcome took everyone by surprise. You can imagine if we had to run the people's dialogue and the consultation process. It's not something that you can run all over a day or a week. You know, that would really require massive consultation. But because we don't want, I'd rather be accused of taking a decision, and we took this decision as Senate. It was not a decision taken by me, Michael, or Lerato. This decision was taken by Senate. We informed our members immediately. We informed you as the media on Friday that we called for an urgent Senate meeting to decide this matter. And we've been entrusted that responsibility by members to make sure that certain decisions we've got to really make them on the spur of a moment, because there was just no time. But as Michael has already indicated, the process of engaging our structures going forward on our strategies, on other stuff, that process has actually already begun in earnest. But the thing is that this decision to pull out of the MPC and so forth, that decision, I think, it's a responsibility of Senate, of our organization, given the powers by our mandate. By our members, and I think we believe we acted in the best interest of them, in line with us respecting the rule of law. It would not really have been fair for us, knowing that we are no longer part of the MPC because of the breach, and we still remain inside. It would not have really been fair. So I think we are still going to be engaging our members extensively on these matters and others, in terms of how we're going to be approaching 2026. Thank you very much. If well done.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this session. And I think just to augment what the President said, members of the Senate are also provincial chairpersons who represent their constituencies. So that I think covers that. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you. We have come to the end. We also thank you for your time, as well as the effort that it takes for us to take our message to the rest of South Africa. We're looking forward to the new government that will come in, and we'll definitely make sure that we work very, very hard to ensure that we stick to our promise to the people of South Africa. And I like the fact that our stance is to be very strong opposition, because once all of them are put together, that position will be vacant and we intend to fill it. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
There should be